So we've taken a look at the Lord of the Rings precons, and I've done my lightly upgraded series for each one of them. But today we're going to do something a little different. We're going to try to tear into these things and use them as a better resource for another format that we can play, Oathbreaker. So in order to play Oathbreaker, unfortunately, we do have to use a Planeswalker, so that kind of breaks away from the Lord of the Rings theming I've been doing lately, but I'm going to try to keep it away from other named stuff in Magic to kind of keep the traditional feel I've been going with. So today's Oathbreaker is Nissa, Steward of Elements, for X, a green and a blue. Planeswalker Nissa, +2, scry 2, so this works with all of our blue-green elf deck that we have the precon for that we can tear into to get this deck built. 0, look at the top card of your library. If it's a land or a creature card with converted mana cost less than or equal to the number of loyalty counters on Nissa, you may put that card onto the battlefield. Most of our stuff is going to be lower cost elves, so as long as your X is like around 3 to 4, you're going to be able to get most creatures off the top of your deck with this. And then -6, untap up to 2 target lands you control. They become 5/5 elementals with flying and haste until end of turn, and they're still lands. We're not really going to care about this one too much unless it's just a way to finish our opponent off in the grand scheme of things. We're mostly worried about the other 2 abilities. As for the signature spell for this Oathbreaker, I went ahead and dug into the precon itself and pulled Galadrim Ambush. For 3 and a green, you get an instant that says create X 1/1 green elf warrior creature tokens where X is the number of attacking creatures and prevent all combat damage that would be dealt this turn by non-elf creatures. So basically all your elves will be safe in combat, and you're going to basically overrun your opponent with a bunch of elves if you pop this off, and you can do it at instant speed as long as you have Nissa out. So what does the rest of the deck look like? Well, the other 58 cards here are as follows. We'll start with the elves that are going to be in the deck. These come from the precon. These also come from the main set for Lord of the Rings. And then I have some flavorful additions from older sets. I got them grouped up here. First up is Arwen Undamiel, blue-green. Whenever you scry, put a counter on a creature and pay 6, scry 2. Arwen, Weaver of Hope, 1 green. Each other creature enters the battlefield with a counter on it equal to the toughness of Arwen, Weaver of Hope. Lothlorien Lookout, when it attacks, scry 1. Elrond, Lord of Rivendell, when it enters or another creature enters the battlefield, scry 1. And if it's the second time this ability is resolved, the ring tempts you. Elrond, Master of Healing, whenever you scry, put a +1/+1 counter on each X target creatures where X is the number of cards looked at while scrying this way. Whenever a creature you control with a counter on it becomes the target of a spell or an ability your opponents control, you can draw a card. Glorfindel, Dauntless Rescuer, 2 and a green, Elf Noble. Whenever you scry, choose 1, and this gets +1/+1 until end of turn. You can either force him to be able to be blocked this turn, so you can force a trade-off, essentially, or Glorfindel can't be blocked by more than 1 creature this combat. So if they have the ability to try to gang block and kill him, well, you can just go ahead and scry and make it so they can't do that. And if they want to prevent the damage, they're going to have to lose a creature for it. Moving on to my next set of elves, we have Celeborn the Wise, 3 and a green. Elf Noble, 3/3. Whenever you attack with 1 or more elves, scry 1. And whenever you scry, Celeborn the Wise gets +1/+1 until end of turn for each card looked at while scrying this way. So you can kind of gently pump him up with a bunch of different scries, or he has his own built-in scry ability to go ahead and pump himself up as a 4/4 basically when he attacks, and then you can get other little boosts as you go along. Elvish Mystic got a printing in the precon as a Lord of the Rings art, so we're going to go ahead and use it. Tap, add a green for a green 1/1. And then we have Elvish Archdruid, same thing. It got a precon printing, 1 green. It's a 2/2. Other elves get +1/+1. Add a green for each elf you control on a tap. Moving on to some stuff that kind of fits in here, and I like the cards in the deck. Well-Wisher, 1 and a green, tap, gain a life for each elf on the battlefield. So this kind of pads our life totals so we can actually keep going along as we're fighting. Leafcrown Visionary, green. Other elves you control get +1/+1, and whenever you cast an elf, you can pay a green to draw a card. Elvish Vanguard, 1 and a green. It's a 1/1 that whenever another elf enters the battlefield, you put a counter on it. So this thing can actually grow really, really fast, especially if we're using our signature spell. Because if you get, 3 or 4 elves off of that when you're swinging, this is going to get 3 or 4 counters at the same time, and it's going to make combat math really funky for our opponents. It's going to destroy their creatures because they're going to probably have to block this. There's a lot of good synergy here with the signature spell. The last batch of elves that I'm going to put in here, some of them are from the precon, some are from the main set. We got Elvish Visionary, draw a card when it enters the battlefield. Elvish War Master, 2/2 for 2. Whenever 1 or more elves enter the battlefield under your control, create a 1/1 green elf warrior creature token, triggers once a turn, and then pay 5 green. Elves you control get +2/+2 and gain death touch until end of turn. So as we're building up these little elves and things going on, we can use this to pump and smash through. Next up is Elvish Mariner, 2 and a blue, 3/2. Whenever it attacks, scry 1. When you scry, tap up to X target non-land permanents where X is the number of cards looked at while scrying. So you can actually go do like an alpha strike, scry, several times, and then go ahead and just tap down all the blockers. Or you can scry in response if you have instant speed scrying and try to, stop the attackers from coming in. We have Reclamation Sage, 2 and a green, 2/1 when it enters, destroy our target artifact or enchantment. Greyhaven's Navigator, 2 and a blue. Flash, 3/2 when it enters, scry 1. So you can use this as an ambush type effect. You get a scry off of it, or you can kind of dance around your counter spells that your opponents might be playing. And then the last elf I'm putting in here, it's not from Lord of the Rings, but I feel that it fits. The name is good for it, is Elvish Champion. 1 green. It's a 2/2 elf lord. All elves, this is an old printing, so I got the thing. It's all other elves get +1/+1 and have forest walk. So if your opponents have forest, your elves are not going to be blockable anymore. Moving on to what I call the scry pile here. These are things that help us scry and get our scry triggers on and keep going through the deck. Defensive spells, all that kind of good stuff. We have Joint Exploration, 1 and a blue with a kicker of a green. Scry 2, draw a card. If you kick the spell, you can play a land card from your hand onto the battlefield. Next up is In Search of Greatness, green enchantment that says at the beginning of your upkeep, you can cast a permanent spell from your hand with converted mana cost equal to 1 plus the highest converted mana cost among other permanents you control without paying its mana cost. If you don't, scry 1. So either way, you're either getting a free permanent, which usually is an elf in this case, or you're going to get to scry. So just kind of snowballs for us. We also have Deliberate, 1 and a blue, scry 2, draw a card. Fading Hope, 1 blue, instant, return target creature to its owner's hand. If its mana value is 3 or less, scry 1. So either way, you're either getting something out of the way and scrying, or just getting something big out of the way. So this is good here. Foresee, I talked about this as like part of the light upgrades for the Precon deck. This is just a great card. 3 and a blue, scry 4, and then draw 2 cards. So if you have like Elrond, Master of Healing out, or one of our other scry elves like that Elvish Mariner, you're going to scry 4, draw 2 cards, and tap 4 creatures down on their side of the board and be able to swing in. The last of the scry pile here, we have Preordain, which is in the Precons. Blue, scry 2, draw a card. Elven Farsight, green, scry 3, then reveal the top card of your library. If it's a creature, draw a card. So this is kind of like the cantrip style effects, but they have heavy amounts of scry attached to them. We have Season of Growth, 1 and a green. It's an enchantment that says whenever a creature enters the battlefield under your control, scry 1. So for every elf that we play, we're going to scry 1. Off of our signature spell, every one of those elves that come in is going to be a scry trigger. So if you have anything that really responds to those scry triggers, like R1 Undamiel or Elrond, Master of Healing, you're going to get a bunch of counters going all over the place. We also have Mirror of Galadriel. It's a legendary artifact for 2 colorless that says pay 5, tap, scry 1, and then draw a card. It costs 1 less to activate for each legendary creature you control. Well, we have several legendary creatures in here, so this is not going to cost us 5. It's probably going to cost us more like 2 or 3 when we go to get activated. We also have the traditional scry card, Opt. It's got a blue, scry 1, draw a card. Straight, simple, and it has a Lord of the Rings printing. And then we have Lost Isle Calling from the main set. 1 and a blue, enchantment. Whenever you scry, put a verse counter on it, and then pay 4 blue, exile Lost Isle Calling, draw a card for each verse counter. So you're going to go ahead and get a bunch of verse counters on there, and then you're going to pop it off. And if you had 7 or more verse counters on it, take an extra turn. So you're going to draw 7 and take an extra turn off of this if you get it built up. And if all this scry goes off like it should, you should have no problem doing that. As for the rest of the deck, let's just call this the best of the rest category. This is everything else that didn't really fit in any kind of category. First up is Raise the Palisade for 4 and a blue, sorcery. Choose a creature type, elves. Return all creatures that aren't of the chosen type to their owner's hands. This gives you a nice little board sweep to go ahead and just punch all your elves through at the same time if you need to kind of alpha strike people with, or to just recover and keep your board intact. We also have Mind Stone and Arcane Signet as our mana rocks of choice here. We have Overwhelming Stampede for 3 green. We have a sorcery that says until end of turn, creatures you control gain trample and +X/+X, where X is the greatest power among creatures you control. So this works out really well for us because as we're adding counters to things, we're going to make a bigger and bigger thing to make this go up and give us kind of our semi-crater hoof effect, but in the Lord of the Rings flavor. We also have Heroic Intervention, 1 and a green. Permanents you control gain hexproof and indestructible until end of turn. So this helps us keep our elves alive because that's the way we win is by combat damage. And then we also have 2 cards. They're not Lord of the Rings, but I felt they fit the things that we're trying to do here. First up is Contentious Plan, 1 and a blue, sorcery, proliferate, draw a card. Now, Proliferate is generally tied to Phyrexian mechanics, so it's hard to find things that aren't, Phyrexian art, Phyrexian named, whatever you want to call it. But I felt this actually fit in the deck pretty well because Contentious Plan kind of reflects what the plan was to get rid of the One Ring and all the infighting and, the temptations that the ring caused and all these other things. So I felt it worked out pretty good, and we want the Proliferate to help us with the +1/+1 counter synergies. I also like Smell Fear for kind of the same other reasons. For 1 in the green, Proliferate, target creature you control fights up to one other target creature you don't control. So we can proliferate the counters, fight to remove stuff, and Smell Fear with like the beast mechanics and stuff with the elves just felt like it kind of fit, and I like what I'm doing with it, so I put it in the deck. And the last bit here is the land base. These are lands, a lot of which show up in the precon themselves, like Hinterland Harbor, Rejuvenating Springs, and Flooded Grove, as well as a copy of Command Tower from the Lord of the Rings precon. We also have Dreamroot Cascade, because I thought that fit in the world of the Lord of the Rings. We also have from the main set Rivendell, because it scries on command. All you need is a legendary creature to use it. And then the Grey Havens, when it enters, it scries, and it allows us to pay for our legends a little bit easier. And then on the end here, we have 6 islands, 9 forests, and that wraps the mana base. So that's the deck. What do you guys think? I thought it was kind of nice that basically a vast majority of this deck is very cheap to build for the most part, and a lot of the cards in it are actually in the precon itself, so you don't really have to spend a ton to play this. The most expensive cards are Heroic Intervention and the Elvish Champion at $10 and $7 respectively if you buy the older copy with the old border for the champion. And then the rest of the deck is actually pretty nice. So with that said, I hope you enjoyed this little Oathbreaker deck. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Maybe there's something else I should have been playing in here, and I want to hear what you have to say about it. Until next time, we'll see you in the next video.